At least it happened a mile off the road, so that's handy. Well, it seemed to have happened fairly traumatically. It's all over the tire. How many vet tools does it take to get the combine working again? You have got to be kidding me. Let everything shut down and try again, I guess. Well guys, the new corn head showed up. You gotta come check this out. This is awesome. First thing I noticed is I don't think you have to change the oil in the chain case anymore because it just runs out all the time, and I guess you could just keep adding more. So that's a new feature. It's coming out of that carriage bolt up there. That carriage bolt is loose. That carriage bolt is loose. Where's the other end of those bolts? Inside of that chain case covered in oil. We got some complimentary paint damage and rust. No extra charge for that, I assume. Look at this, we got a centering sticker in the middle of the head so you can easily line up to it when you're hooking the combine up to it. Only problem is it's not even close to centered. That's handy. So you can pull this button and raise these wings up on the side. Gives you a little higher side in case you got wind blowing your ears over the edge or something. And then you just pull this down, and this lines up down here to hold it, keep it from flapping around when it's closed. But I noticed that the other side flaps around all the time. And that's because that tab doesn't line up with this pocket. When you buy something new, you just kind of expect it to show up looking new. Kind of looks like it's been sitting outside for a long time. You flip up these snoots and look at the underside here, and it looks like it's been laying upside down full of water outside or something. I don't know. It's disappointing. I don't really even know what could have caused this damage right here. The paint is just worn right off and rust showing through. And then down here, same thing right here. The paint's all boogered up and it's all rusty. And I'm just wondering what else we're gonna figure out didn't get installed properly, tightened all the way, whatever. Once they get this put back together and brought back out to us, we're gonna run it and see what happens. I hope nothing else happens. There she goes. Better luck next time. Hey, guess what? There's a pretty good chance we might try to start combining tomorrow. So I need to get out in the field quick and pick the ears from our test plot with the flags this spring, where we flagged the emergence. Remember, we went out and every day we saw new corn coming up out of the ground. We put a different colored flag next to it for the first 4 days. We're gonna go out and pick those ears and see if there's any difference in yield between the corn that came up on the first day and the corn that came up on the second, third, and fourth day. All right, here we are. See all the different colored flags? Put the ears from each colored flag in a different sack, and I'll just throw those flags in there so I can keep track of which day those ears were from. Well, this is how it always goes. We talked about starting harvest tomorrow, maybe giving it a try and seeing if it was gonna work. Here we are today, right after lunch, heading out to the field with the combine because we went out and checked the beans and it seems like they're gonna be dry enough. There's really not a great way to tell until you get the head on the combine, cut some beans, and you have got to be kidding me. This was the reason we dropped the combine off at the John Deere store right after harvest last fall, and they've had it all year because of that fuel injector issue. And now we get half a mile up the road to go start harvest and it's doing it again. Got the head dropped off to the field already, so I'm just gonna pull up here and climb up by the engine and see if I can find any fuel leaks, I guess. Well, I couldn't find anything leaking up there. I specifically made sure to check the lines that looked like they'd been replaced. I don't know what's going on. It might be a sensor issue. I think I'm just gonna try combining some beans and see if it acts like it's short on horsepower. I don't know. These beans are actually testing between 11 and 12% moisture, but look at all the green beans in here. That's not a good thing. I think we're gonna have to hold off and wait for another day or two It's crazy that there's so many mushy beans in there, because when you look at these beans, they look like they're ready. Grab some from the bottom. Here's a plant right here that's got green pods on it yet. What's going on with this guy? See, look at how brittle this stem is right here. And then the one next to it. Look at how green and mushy this stem is. And look at the beans on this plant. These pods don't even want to shell open. And then there you go. There's your mushy, squishy beans in there. I think we're gonna call it quits for today. Well, since we're not going to combine beans the rest of the day, let's go ahead and do some kernel counts on these ears of corn that I pulled off from my flag test. So when you just have a couple of ears to do, you can just manually count how many kernels in each row and how many rows around. But when I got a lot of them to do, I like to use this app on my phone. It also sort of takes away some potential bias or human error. What this app does is it takes a picture of each ear and then it shows you how many kernels are on each ear. It's really pretty accurate as long as you've got good lighting. Well, here we are. The two rows up at the top next to the green flag were from the plants that came up on the very first day. The ones next to the blue flag, that single row, that's the second day. The yellow flag is the third day. And then the red flag is the fourth day. You notice I've got a couple little chunks of corn stalk in the yellow and the red category. Those represent plants that actually were there. They came out of the ground, but they didn't produce an ear at all. So they have to be included here, and they have to count as 0 kernels for that plant because it was there, it just never produced anything. So I'll get all the numbers put together and let you know how this came out yield-wise, but I'm actually surprised that visually it's not as stunning as it was last year, or as a lot of the emergence plots that I've seen this year are. So I'm not really sure what we're going to find, but the numbers won't lie, I know that. You guys, this is insane. This is why you actually take the time to do these things and follow through and do the math, because just walking past and looking at it quickly, you would say, I don't see that big of a difference there. Must not be that big of a deal. But look at these numbers. You look at the kernel counts, you have 715 average on each ear in the day ones, 691 in the day twos. Not a huge difference, but then those zeros really drag it down. The day threes averaged 517 and 546 on the day fours. You translate that to yield. Day one, 291 bushels per acre, 10 bushels less on the day twos, all the way down to 210 on the day threes, and 222 on the day fours. So put that into dollars when you consider that each one of those bushels is worth $7 right now. That's huge. $70 an acre difference here, but look at from day one to day three, that's only 48 hours difference. We're talking 81 bushels difference. 81 times 7, guys, that's huge. So this is just more proof of what we've known all along. It definitely pays to slow down and take that extra minute in the spring. Make sure you're doing everything you can be doing when you're planting the corn to give it a chance to all come up at the same time. So we just got the head back from John Deere. I'm running it right now. There's something else that I didn't notice before. You might not be able to see it, but if you watch that big auger that goes all the way across, watch the center of it, you see it moving up and down. That big auger is actually bent to the point where the flighting is scraping against the back of the head a little bit. Apparently there's a recall on a bunch of these new heads, but they don't have the augers yet to fix them. So I guess we got to run this thing with a bent auger this fall, and then they're going to take it back after harvest and put a new auger in it. We decided to go ahead and try out the corn head today and give the beans another couple of days. We thought we might go back and try the beans again today, but we wanted to figure out if this new corn head was going to hold together for a few acres, so we're taking out some corn. switched out for a different combine operator, and I was just on the way back with a load of corn. He called and said the combine all of a sudden wouldn't move, so he shut it down, looked around, found out that it doesn't have any hydraulic oil in it, and discovered that apparently there's a fairly major hydraulic oil leak on the new corn head. So I'm on my way over to figure out if that's something we can fix ourselves, or if I'm gonna have to make a second service call for this new corn head already. At least it happened a mile off the road, so that's handy. Well, it seemed to have happened fairly traumatically. It's all over the tire. Yeah, it looks to me like there's a hole worn in both of those hoses. At least one of them, maybe both of them. That's not a very good place to run those hoses. I don't know how that was supposed to work.
Evidently, they never put one together before.
Apparently not. I don't think they made the hoses long enough to get them.
Right.
I mean, this clip that's right here needs to be back over here. I bet I didn't bring enough oil with me, but we'll see. Well, I just got off the phone with our local John Deere dealer. They're going to figure out if they can round up the fittings to make a new hose because they don't have the hoses in stock. If they can, hopefully they can get somebody sent out here to replace them, because I'm not 100% sure how those hoses are supposed to be routed to avoid that clutch. I obviously just know that they weren't routed properly to begin with. Since the head is under warranty, I don't really feel like working on it and screwing it up again. Anyway, I'm gonna run it up by the road so that when the service tech gets here, he doesn't have to drive a mile to the back of the field. And hopefully I hear from him pretty soon. How many vet tools does it take to get the combine working again? We just got it put together, just got it started back up again, and now I'm having fuel injector problems. Look at that, I'm using all the horsepower going 3.5 miles an hour. I should be able to go about 5. This is ridiculous. Yesterday when we tried the beans and this happened, I had to shut the combine off, start it back up again, and then it's been fine until now. So I don't know what kind of electrical gremlins we've got going on with this combine, but man, this could be a long fall. We've been at it for 8 hours now, and we've got 12.38 acres of corn combined. All right, let's start over. Look at that, I'm going 4.6 miles an hour, using a fair amount less horsepower than I was going 3.5, and I'm unloaded at the same time. So whatever happened when I shut it off and start it back up again makes a big difference. I don't know what's going on. We're gonna call it a night. We got down to the point where we can finish this hybrid that we're working on right now pretty easily tomorrow morning if we don't have any trouble, and then we can get switched back over to beans. Well, it was not the ideal day, but our goal was to run that new corn head today enough to figure out if we were going to have trouble with it, so we accomplished our goal. I'm going to head home, try to get to bed, go back at it tomorrow.